A WWE star is leaving the company on June 1st. We're going to talk about that plus so much more right here on The Ango Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Ango Show. I, of course, am Ango. I want to kick things off talking about The Rock because WWE's PR is busy with this story. So there was a report that came out from The Wrap. Essentially what they did was they posted an article about production issues that may have impacted The Rock's film Red One. And also in this report, it was noted that the move will cost $250 million to make due to unexpected production issues with The Rock. Because apparently The Rock has chronic lateness and a lack of professionalism. And that's essentially what is being blamed for the $250 million loss. The spokesperson for Amazon MGM also denied that there were issues with The Rock that led to these increased costs. But now what's actually even more crazier is later on in the report, they also say that The Rock's lateness was a factor at WrestleMania 40. The Wrap's Humberto Gonzalez was told by two insiders earlier this month he was 3 hours late arriving ahead of his main event match at WrestleMania 40. Now, obviously, when I, saw this, I was thinking, well, The Rock's a big movie star. He's busy. He's got the UFL. He's got a million things. I mean, it could sound pretty reasonable. However, Amazon MGM denying it. Now, WWE's Chris Legentil, who is WWE's Executive Vice President for Talent Relations and Head of Communications, he stated that Dwayne was not only on time for WrestleMania, he was hours early to help with rehearsal, and also he was a pleasure to work with throughout the entire run. This is actually really funny to me, though, because The Rock was late for WWE World by several hours. And obviously, with stories like this, it's he say, she say. WWE's PR is working hard these days. WWE's PR, to me, I feel like they're ready at all times for stories like this. But I'm intrigued to know what is the actual truth here. Look, as far as Hollywood goes, I don't care about Hollywood. I don't care about the movies. I don't care about The Rock's movies. Because at the end of the day, I don't cover those movies. I don't cover those projects. But I do cover professional wrestling, and I do cover, obviously, WrestleMania. Is The Rock coming back into the WWE as a board member? And is he being problematic for this company? They're saying no. So that's what I have to go with. But it's intriguing to know that if this behavior were true, and I say if because nobody knows if it is, but if it were true, I hope it's not true in the stance of WWE because this guy did become a board member. This guy is in very big programs, and obviously that is a really important aspect of it all. I want to turn our attention to the NXT call-ups in the 2024 WWE Draft. Several of them were made. I'm excited about this, but Dijak was drafted to WWE Raw. Blair Davenport was drafted to SmackDown. Lyra Valkyria has been drafted to the main roster. And of course, Ilya Dragunov has been drafted to the main roster as well. We know that Kiana James was called up last week. We know Carmelo Hayes was called up last week on night one. If you consider Braun Breaker as already a main roster talent before the draft, then perhaps his draft doesn't count as a call-up, but we know that he's been drafted as well. I'm excited about these NXT call-ups. Honestly, I don't think people understand. With these NXT call-ups, you help freshen things up. Lyra Valkyria, incredibly talented. You also have Kiana James, who's incredibly talented. A lot of people don't know that Kiana James she used to be on AEW Dark. And then she went to NXT 2.0, and she's somebody who was never really given a championship, they don't give her a women's championship or anything like that. And then you find out that they're doing the North American Women's Championship, and everybody's like, hey, she could be a really good champion for that. It kind of feels like it's out of left field. It kind of feels random, but I think that was the best part of the draft. If you follow me on X or in Discord, my opinions about the draft were that, You don't see that many major changes. Yes, you do get some changes between like the mid card and the lower card, but in terms of like main event talent and stuff, you're not noticing that many changes. You also have to factor in this year specifically, championships were protected, so they're staying on their brand. They're not switching. So for me personally, as a fan of, what we're seeing with the NXT call-ups, I look forward to Dijak getting called up to Raw. I look forward to Braun Breaker being on Raw. I look forward to Kiana James being on Raw. I look forward to Blair Davenport. And the best part about this is I honestly did not know if Blair Davenport would even stick around in WWE. She was in NXT UK, comes to NXT, and for the longest time, it just seemed like she was just the veteran that was there to help other people look good. And it all made sense. They obviously knew that they were calling her up. They obviously knew they had plans for her. And she's a hell of a talent. And when you look at the women's division now between Raw and SmackDown, how do you not get excited about that? This is going to be a very, very good call-up across all of them. And with WWE not changing up the roster too much, it's not the biggest change. When you add this fresh blood, you now have more feuds and more possibilities. Pretty much all of like the European NXT UK people are like on Raw now. So that IC title belt becomes a little bit more exciting. And then you got Imperium and there's just so many great things you can do. It's going to be fascinating. And that brings us to our final topic. Fightful Select has dropped a massive report today. There is an expected departure. Fightful Select has learned that Scripps, formerly known as Reggie, his contract is set to expire at the start of June. He's been informed that the deal will be expiring and he will be a free agent. Sean Ross Sapp learned that Scripps will likely go by Sidney Akeem. He does plan to continue wrestling and expected his deal not to be renewed, which is interesting because if you don't expect your deal to be renewed, you have to be somewhat like knowledgeable about your situation. Look, Reggie Scripps, this is not a release, right? It's a little bit different. If you're released while you're in contract and stuff like that, I hate that. I like Reggie. I like his ability to wrestle. I like his ability, as a talking guy, as the third piece to OTM out the mud. I like that. But at the same time, too, this guy has been in WWE actually for quite a while, and it just seems like nothing ever really popped off. It's one thing for me to like your abilities, like as a viewer, but I think as like a decision maker, WWE is probably looking at it from the perspective of like, does it really make sense? I don't like that way of thinking because I feel like in WWE, you could kind of manufacture any success you want. This guy's talented. I hope he sticks around and keeps wrestling. And I actually like want to see him go somewhere else and like maybe TNA. I think there's a lot of cool stuff happening in TNA. Maybe he could fit in there. Maybe NWA. I don't know. But the point that I'm trying to make is I like the idea of him sticking around because you never know in WWE. You go somewhere else, you show them something a little bit different, make it work on your own, and WWE says, let's bring you back. So, yeah, it sucks, but he's not being released. He's just not being re-signed. It sounds like he knew about this ahead of time or whatever, and obviously I hope the best for him, but it's very interesting to see how this all plays out. And what does this mean for Out the Mud? That's what I want to know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.